People fight the word formula. We've got a formula for success. Oh, I'm an artist, man. I got to recreate new stuff every time. Let me tell you where formula works. Works in parenting, which, is not about you. Science, math, business, sports, my business, media. We always bad math. So formula. You notice who's dominating sports now? UConn women's basketball, Bama football. Look at all the dynasties. Theo Epstein, he's got a formula. New England Patriots. You ever watch that show Law and Order? That's what New England's become. 20 years of domination. A revolving door of detectives, cops, and lawyers. Here's Sam Waterston, i.e. Bill Belichick. They call those procedurals in television. It's a formula. And what's fascinating about New England's formula, it's not anti-player exactly, but it's almost the anti-formula formula. They are never beholden to a diva wide receiver. They're never beholden to an outspoken pass rusher. They're never handcuffed by a cornerback that demands a new contract. They're the anti-formula formula. Every game, we take what you give. Everybody thought Chris Hogan would have a big game, right? Oh, got to guard Chris Hogan. He was irrelevant. In the Patriots' 3 playoff games, the first one, Dion Lewis had 3 touchdowns. The second one, Chris Hogan had 180 yards. And then yesterday, Jason White was setting records. James White. Isn't that remarkable? I was watching the media yesterday. Oh, Chris Hogan is going to do virtually nothing. Because that's what New England does. They're never, ever trapped, handcuffed. Look at New England's final drive, 5 different targets. Look at New England's second to last drive. Hogan, Malcolm Mitchell, Edelman, Amendola, James White. Whatever New England did last week, they will not do next week. Oh, you know what the Steelers will do. You know it's Aaron Rodgers and Jordy. You know Atlanta has those 2 running backs. You know with New England nothing. Their formula is just like Law and Order. You fall in love with that cop. Oh, cop leaves the show. New cop's just as good. I love that detective. What happened to him? He's on another series. New guy's just as good. We've got another attorney. Oh, I'm still watching. By the way, Jimmy Johnson, I'm watching Martellus Bennett play yesterday for New England, the tight end. You thought what I thought. You did. After that second holding call, then the screen pass didn't get out of bounds. You thought what I thought, didn't you, Patriot fans? Well, he's not a Patriot. I mean, they brought in Ocho. It didn't work. They brought in players. It doesn't work. You know what I thought. You know what you thought. It won't work. Jimmy Johnson did that, and Bill Parcells did that too. It's called standards. Individual players, it must be great to be a Patriot fan. Individual players never paralyze the organization. We're so anti-formula. It has a negative connotation. Formula. That's how Nick Saban's doing it. The players are important. The system's bigger. The players have value. It never trumps the formula. 99% of sports fans, especially pro sports fans, you're just praying that one guy doesn't get hurt. And that running guy back didn't pull a hammy. And that pass rusher's ready to go on Sunday. And that tight end you love stays healthy and re-signs. That's never an issue. We have to kind of recalibrate our minds that formula is not a negative thing. It's what we're all trying to do as parents, as business people, as providers, as sports teams. In math, in science, formula. There's one in the NFL, truly one that works every time. And it worked again yesterday. And the great thing with formulas, your star in the formula doesn't have to play particularly well for big parts of the game. New England's wide receivers had 6 drops. They missed a PAT. Couldn't get the onside field goal right. Offensive line was dominated for most of it. But it doesn't really matter. When you rely on each other, it is a community that's smarter and more thoughtful. Never paralyzed by one dude. Do your job. Next man up. I know. It doesn't sell on the marquee. But start looking around, especially in sports. And from UConn women's basketball to New England to Theo Epstein, it is what is dominating. What's the opposite of that? Having to recreate success a different way every time? Even Monet, Picasso, even the great artists. Don't U2 songs, mostly you can tell, 3 seconds in, Beatles. What we're watching right now has never happened. And it is absolutely the most impressive thing I've ever seen. I've never seen anything like this in pro sports. It's different in college sports. College sports are created. Dynasties should happen. You dominate in a sport, you get a better recruiting class. But being a dynasty in the National Football League is like being a billionaire in a socialist country. It's not designed to work that way. In the NFL, the best drafts last. In the NFL, the best faces all the first-place teams the following year. The best team, those players always want to get paid. In the NBA, you get a couple of superstars. You're a beast for years, it's understood. In baseball, there's no salary cap. You can just buy the best pitchers. That's what the Yankees did in the 90s, 2000s. But what New England is doing has never been duplicated. They're facing free agency. Player mobility's never been more incredible. They're facing salary caps. They're facing annually the toughest, the best teams in every division. They've never had a top 5 draft pick under Belichick, and they've only had 2 top 10 picks. They've done this facing Peyton Manning for a majority of it in their conference, the best regular season quarterback of all time. They've done this facing the legendary Steelers and Big Ben. Obstacle, salary cap, free agency, no top 5 picks, toughest first place schedule, drafting last, obstacle, 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 obstacle. I don't care who you credit. Give it to Belichick and give it to Brady. But I'm always impressed by people who accomplish something in a system built to be difficult for them. The most impressive dynasty I ever saw in college sports, Nebraska football? How the hell did that happen? Who dominates college football in the 90s? A state with no players, sir. What? Not Miami, not USC, not Texas, not Georgia? No, middle of the country got no players. Okie dokie. New England will continue to dominate because it's a mindset. Did you hear Bill Belichick, what he said this morning? Groggy, confused, no sleep.
You know, it's the NFL season, the calendar is what it is. And so, as of today, and as great as today feels and as great as today is, in all honesty, we're 5 weeks behind in the 2017 season to most teams in the league.
And that's why it continues. Boring old formula. It's the greatest dynasty in pro sports history. I don't really count college. But baseball, you could buy the players. NBA, driven by stars. Jimmy Johnson's Cowboys, Chuck Noll's Steelers. Bill Walsh's 49ers had 7 or 8 bedrock players. I say the Steelers. You name the players. I say the Niners. You name the players. I say Jimmy Johnson's Cowboys. You name the players. This is Law and Order, man. It's a revolving door of mostly slightly above average players. And it's going nowhere really fast.